No, 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 no. The fact there are people that want a dark ending is crazy to me. Hasn't Guts suffered enough? Was born from a hand corpse, picked up by mercenaries, and constant abuse by Gambino, and more trauma inflicted onto him over and over again. Had a homosexual breakup with Griffith, even though Guts heterosexual. Which led to this femboy betraying and doing the worst imaginable things to him. Then he's forced to fight 24/7, where he can't rest or sleep at night. And after so long, he finally learned to trust again and form new bonds. And for some reason, I still see people from time to time saying, Berserk should have a dark ending. But no, I do not want that. Sadly, Mira has passed away, so the ending we are going to get in the distant future is probably going to be bullet points Mira has told his best friend or team, as that's something pretty normal amongst mangaka, is that they pretty much have the ending in mind. Not the full ending, but how it might end, as shown with authors like Oda with One Piece, Gege with Jujutsu Kaisen, etc. So there's a high chance Miura already had an ending in mind. But there is another interesting fact, and I'm not sure how well known this is, but it's been sort of hinted that the ending for Berserk will not be a dark ending. As in an interview published in the year 2000, the interviewer asked Miura, is it even possible that we'll see a happy ending? And Miura answered, and I quote, I say it's possible. I used to have the final moves planned out, but lately I've been thinking I'd rather figure them out when I come to it. So now it's hard to say what could happen. Being the sort of person I am though, I actually don't think I could let such a long grim story end with a grim ending. Like say, having him suddenly die. I don't really like that kind of entertainment. I'll leave it to my subconscious. Now it's not fully confirmed if the ending he has in mind would be a happy ending, but just by reading that interview and him saying that tells me a lot. And also just by reading the story of Berserk, one can infer what kind of story Miura is trying to tell. And for it to have a dark ending would undermine the story. Berserk tackles many themes, and one of the main being to struggle, no matter what, as surely there is something to be found through all that struggle. And another theme it tackles as well, it's about fate. How Griffith was fated to become Femto, Guts is fated to die, how those who are sacrifices are fated for demise, etc. But guess what? Guts is still alive, despite how much the God Hand tries to gaslight us into thinking fate, causality, blah blah blah. The story tells us otherwise, and even Flora herself said this, and it's something that I still think about, and I quote, God bestows upon us fate, but it is the children of men who choose it. And that line gives me chills every time I read it, and not just because it's a beautiful line. No, this belief has proven to be right, by none other than the main character of Berserk, Guts. A man who was born under the unluckiest star and had to live through trauma after trauma, but despite that, he learns to love, trust, and even when it was shattered by Griffith, he still didn't lose his heart. Fate keeps trying to break this man, but at his core, Guts still remains true to who he is. He's a really kind person, as shown throughout the story, where he truly is empathetic towards others, even with everything he went through. Hell, it's because of that he feels for when kids go through situations similar to his. And even as a kid, as shown with Chich, he had no reason to protect that flower, but he did because he promised Chich. That's the kind of person Guts is. And the story tries to gaslight us from time to time that fate can be averted. Griffith becoming Femto was fated to happen, but no. I mean, it's pretty much proven that one can reject the God Hand, as shown with the Count who rejected sacrificing Theresia. Griffith could have rejected it, but sadly, he put himself first, his dream over the rest. So for Berserk to end in a dark way, where Guts dies or has a really sad ending where he loses everybody, it just doesn't sit right with me, as this story is all about Guts learning from his mistakes and relying on his friends and doing everything in his power to destroy fate, to avert it, for things to not repeat themselves. And that's what I love about Berserk. Sure, it's a very dark world, but there's still beauty to be found and hope as well. Now, as for what I believe is the biggest hurdle, is how can one write a happy ending? Sure, I said all this hopeful stuff moments ago, but I can't deny it will be hard to write an ending that doesn't break the established rules in Berserk, as I for one can't think how can Guts and the rest defeat Griffith without making it seem like an ass pull? Maybe it can be a combined effort between everybody. Now sure, many are gonna roll their eyes on this, the power of friendship, but I love that so much. And I for one think it will work in Berserk because it will come full circle. Guts, who has been called the cursed child, someone who brings ruin to everyone he encounters, but now in the end, all the people Guts has encountered and bonded with come together to help him. As it's been shown time and time again, many characters have had their lives changed for the better. Sealot, Serpico, Farnese, etc. Or hell, I can imagine a controversial ending where Guts isn't the one who defeats Griffith. Or maybe there's some weird way for Griffith to temporarily lose his femto powers, which evens the field, making it fair for Guts to fight Griffith. Now many have theorized Guts is gonna become some sort of apostle because of that Behele that's been there since the first arc of Berserk, and we still don't know who it belongs to. But I for one would not like it if Guts became something not human. As again, Guts has constantly said time and time again how he's human, and it wouldn't undermine the story if he just straight up became an apostle or some higher being to win against Griffith. It would be more satisfying if he brought him down by remaining who he is. And then there's the even more controversial ending. Griffith doesn't die. Guts and the rest just live out their lives. But I do not see this happening. Sure, revenge is heavily criticized in stories, and Berserk as well, with Goro calling out Guts in one of the best chapters where he tells him he abandoned those irreplaceable things to go off for his revenge, to just soothe his hatred, as he couldn't stand to immerse himself in sorrow with Casca and the rest. Goro even tells Guts to just run away from revenge, from hatred, but the reason why I don't believe this ending is going to happen is because Miura wasn't critiquing the idea of revenge to be bad, but rather calling out the hypocrisy of Guts. He was claiming it's revenge and it's for the Band of the Hawk, but in reality, it wasn't that. Guts just wanted to unleash that hatred of his, the only thing pushing him forward. What I see happening is Guts not seeking to kill Griffith for his own malice, to soothe his own hatred, but rather, he fights Griffith for his new bonds, his love for Casca, to truly abandon that hatred of his, and that's what I see happening. Also, Miura clearly intends to punish Griffith for the horrible actions he did in the eclipse, so for Griffith to not suffer any consequences from that would be the worst thing, so I don't believe that ending is possible. Now there is one other thing I want to address, that I fully believe needs to happen. The brand needs to be removed from Guts and Casca, because if Berserk has a happy ending or a bittersweet ending with Guts and Casca still alive, having the brand, I am not going to be able to sleep peacefully, knowing that when they die, they will go to this vortex and suffer for all eternity. As it's been said, those with the brand end up here. So for the love of God, I hope Miura had plans to remove the brand. Now some are probably thinking, isn't that impossible for the brand to be removed or erased? Wouldn't that break the rules of Berserk and cheapen the story? Well, I reread Berserk many times and there really isn't any claim that it's impossible to remove them. This line spoken by Flora gives me hope, as she says, erasing them will be beyond my power. It implies there's some higher entity that could possibly remove them, and if they were erased, it will be such a satisfying conclusion and cool symbolism that Guts and Casca beat fate, as that mark, that brand, would always be a constant reminder of their fate being sealed. So if they manage to erase that brand, it would be such a cool moment. The only thing I'm worried about is I am pretty sure Miura had planned to kill some characters in the final arc, and the biggest one I fear is Serpico, as it seems like that's the most obvious character, with him protecting Farnese. For Shirk, I don't see that happening. Isidro, I can actually see that happening as well, despite his huge ambition. Hell, I can see the Behele belonging to him. For Casca, for the love of God, we just got her back after decades. So if Miura had that plan for her character, then my god, I see myself losing it. As for Guts, I truly believe he won't die. I'm 100% sure, as I can see this perfection of a man, the personification of a struggler, dying. Well, that ends the video. I always wanted to talk about this, to get some of these Berserk thoughts I have out there, as I was always confused why many people want a really dark ending from what I've seen. So I'm interested for those who see this video, would you actually prefer a dark ending and why? As I am curious. Or would you prefer a bittersweet ending, or a happy one? Comment down below if you see this video. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want more Berserk content, check out my Berserk deep dive series where I analyze every moment in Berserk because I'm crazy. Bye.